Natural Sciences course, and I'll be uploading all the lecture recordings to YouTube, and we'll be sharing the link through Cal, so you can access the lecture notes. And if you have any question, you can send me the questions as a message via Cal, right? Anyway, in this course we are going to discuss very basics in statistics, right? So my first question is, have you heard about statistics before? Have you used statistics in your day-to-day life? So I'm sure every one of you have used statistics before, but the problem is you don't know that you have used statistics, right? So I'll give you some day-to-day examples. So what about a cricket match? I'm so sure that every one of you have watched a cricket match. So when you are watching a cricket match, they are predicting the winning team. Now for an example, if there is a cricket match between Pakistan and Sri Lanka, they are going to predict the percentage of winning, right? There is 70% of chance Sri Lanka to win this match. So they predict this chance using statistics, right? So the next thing, now just when you are when you are preparing a tea at home, when you add sugar, how do you taste it? How do you make sure that you have added the correct amount of sugar? Are you going to drink whole cup of tea? No, right? You just take a bit and taste it. So you are just taking a sample from your tea and taste it and make sure that you have added the correct amount of sugar. And let's say you are asked to do a blood test in order to check whether a certain virus or the cholesterol or the sugar level in your body. So for that, you don't give all the blood to the laboratory. What you do is you go to the laboratory, you give a sample of blood to get done this test, right? So in that case also you are giving a sample from your blood. And what about buying a tire? Now let's say you have a vehicle and you want to buy a new tire for your vehicle. So what would be the first question that you are asking when you go to the tire shop? I'm sure the first question is the price and then maybe the brand, right? So after that, if you have the brand that you want to buy in that shop, and then you check the prices, and then the next thing you check is the average lifetime of the tire. That is how long you can use this tire, right? Whether it's 38 whether it's 30 kilometers, 38,000 kilometers, 50,000 kilometers, likewise the average lifetime of the tire. And these are some of the examples have you used in all these incidents that I discussed. You have used statistics to calculate the chance of winning a match, and to taste the tea, and to give to get done your blood test. In all of these incidents we have used statistics. So if you go a bit beyond that, if you go to the industry, let's say you are running a company, and in that case you want to check whether there is a growth in your sales. So in that case you can use the mean sales values or the income, and then you can use a graph that you are using in statistics in order to see the patterns, right? So if you just go beyond that, if you go to the world, in globally also we are using statistics in everywhere. So these days the most common thing we know, COVID-19. So in order to, now in this one I have put Ebola. So that was also a disaster in 2015. But now in 2020 we all are talking about COVID-19. How many deaths are there around the world, and how many patients are there around the world? So all these figures are examples for statistics, right? So if I go for a very basic example how to use statistics. Now let's say, since you are studying in University of Kelaniya, if you want to find out how many students in University of Kelaniya are using social network, or how many students are using Facebook. So what you can do is, one possible way is you can just go and ask from all the students of University of Kelaniya, or you can just send a Google Sheet to all the students of University of Kelaniya and ask the question, are you using a social network or are you using Facebook? But we know there are so many students, right, in University of Kelaniya, right, thousands of students, so it's not possible. It's very time consuming, costly. So in order to take an idea about the usage of social networks, what can you do? You can just take a sample of students, not everyone, right? Instead of taking everyone, you can just take a sample, let's say 200 students, 100 students, and then you are asking the question. Right now in this case, let's say you are taking 100 students and asking whether they are using social network or not. Now in that case, let's say 94%, no, 94 of them are saying they're using social networks, where six students are saying that they are not using social networks. So among your sample, among your group, 90% of 94% of students are not using social network, where 6% of students are 94% of students are using social networks, whereas 6% of students are not using social networks. So we can just take this information, and then we can just think about the population, that is the whole university, and then we can assume that even when you take the whole university, most of the students will be using social network, right? So these are the places, or these are the scenarios in your day-to-day life and in the world where you use statistics. So if you just Google and see the word statistics, there are so many definitions for statistics, right? So anyway, if you just go through the definitions, I have put some. In all the definitions, they are talking about statistics with uncertainty and variability. So if you are using statistics, in most of the time we are predicting, right? We are going to tell what will happen in the future using statistics, or we can just analyze a current scenario, right? Something which has already happened, we can just check the status of that using statistics. So it's all about uncertainty. Sometimes when you predict something in the future, sometimes it will happen or sometimes it will not happen. So there is an uncertainty, and also there is a variability, right? There is now when you take a sample of students to check the social network usage, there is a variation. Sometimes that 100 students are not representing the whole population of the university, so there is a variability, right? So anyway, in statistics you can predict, and in statistics we can collect data and we can analyze them, we can interpret them, and we can present our data to someone, right? So there are so many definitions. You don't have to by heart these definitions, right? So I have just put some of these definitions. And anyway, in all of these things, what we are doing is, all the time in statistics we are dealing with data. We want data to do something, right? It may be to analyze, it may be to predict. We want data to do whatever we want, right? So in statistics, there are 5 fields in statistics that we go through when we want to take a decision. One thing is, first we have to properly collect a data set, right? We have to gather information, and then after gathering information you have to organize, and you have to classify your data, maybe using a software, right? You have to organize your data, and then after organizing your data, after feeding your data to a software, you can analyze your data, right? And then you can present your analysis, and then you can give the interpretations. You can just explain others what you have found. So these are the steps that we use in statistics. So I'll just take a small example to illustrate these steps, right? So let's say we want to find out um, whether there is a relationship between the effect of A-level attempt, gender, and the first year marks of the students who are doing mathematics, statistics, and computer science, right? So in this case, let's say you take the count of the students who are following mathematics, statistics, and computer science in the faculty of science. Let's say there are 65 students. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a group of students from this 65. So I'm going to select only 21 students, right? So, and then I'm going to take the index number, their mathematics marks, first year mathematics marks, statistics marks, computer science marks, their A-level attempt, and the gender. So once maybe I can use a questionnaire, maybe I can use a Google sheet, then I can gather the information, and then I can nicely arrange the information like this. So I have put all the information to an Excel sheet, right? So it looks like this. And then using the software, I can analyze that. That is, I can take the graphs, right, and I can make the tables. So you can see I have two tables here, two graphs here, right? So these things I can take as computer outputs using the software. And now I can, if anyone asks what is the relationship between the A-level attempt, gender, and the marks of first year students, I can just tell them this is what I have received from my analysis. But by just looking at these things, if that person is having no idea about statistics, it's very hard to get an idea about the relationship. So the next thing what we can do is we can present them. So meanwhile we can explain what we have found. We can give the interpretations. So if you look at the first table here, you have the attempt, A-level attempt, and count and the percentage. That is, there are 4 students who have come to the faculty from first shy, from the first attempt. And second, there are 8 students who have come from second shy, 9 students from third shy, likewise, right? So if you take the percentages, we can see most of the students, that is 42, nearly 43% of the students are coming from third shy. And if you look at the gender, there are so many female students. So the majority of the sample are female students. And if you look at this one, the histogram, that is the marks of statistics, you can see if you look at the bars which are on your right hand side, right, the length of the bars is higher than which are on the left hand side. That is, most of the students have scored well for statistics, right? Because here this is the number line, you have higher numbers on your right hand side. And if you look at this, the descriptive statistics part, right, so in that case you have the descriptive statistics for computer science mark. So you can see the minimum mark a student has obtained is 41, where the maximum marks is 69, and the average mark is 51.33. That is, on average a student has scored 51 marks for computer science. So likewise we can analyze and interpret our data. So if you just Google and if you just find out about statistics, you will realize in ancient times, people have used statistics for military purposes, right? To keep records in military purposes. So that's how statistics have come into the world. But nowadays, we are using statistics in every field, right? You name the field, you have statistics there. In agriculture, economics, medicine, business management, in politics, in sociology, astronomy, in everywhere we are using statistics. So actually these days the term big data is very popular among us, and there is a good demand for big data, and there are good jobs with handsome salaries, right? So like this, we are using statistics everywhere, right? So when it comes to statistics, some say when you use statistics, it's just the process of collecting and analyzing and presenting data, and some says when you say statistics, it's a collection of numbers, right? So that's what get into your mind when you say statistics. Anyway, so as I told you before also, in all these fields we are using statistics. But there are some limitations in statistics. That is, sometimes when we use statistics to do the certain analysis, we are always taking the average, right? We are not talking about an individual value. On average, we are talking about results. So that is a limitation, right? And in statistics, we always use the numbers. We can deal with qualitative characteristics as well, but even though when you have qualitative stuff, we are converting them into numbers, so that is also a limitation. And sometimes, even though we are making predictions, right, even though we forecast about the future, sometimes there is always a possibility to get it wrong, right? So sometimes they are not universally true, because all the time in statistics we are making conclusions under some certain assumptions, right? So sometimes when you want to, even though we present our interpretations, sometimes you need to have a good understanding about the terminologies of statistics to get its meaning. Now for an example, if you say the variance of computer science marks is equal to 0.4, so if you don't know what is variance, you will get nothing from that, right? So likewise, you want some good understanding about the terminologies in statistics. So these are some of the limitations. And also if you look at this graph, right, so it says you have the age groups and the number of fatal accidents. You can see if you look at this graph, it looks like with the age the number of accidents are decreasing, but actually it's not true, right? Because if you clearly have a look at this, you can see when here if you take the age group 20 to 24, you have more accidents, and if you take the age group 75 to 79, you have less number of accidents. But even if you take the number of drivers in each of these age category, maybe you can observe the same pattern, because there are less drivers who are so old and there are more drivers in younger age, right? So what we can do is, even though we can observe there is the fatal accidents are decreasing with age, that is not true. That is the pattern between the number of drivers and the age, right? So if you want to clearly identify the pattern between the age and fatal accidents, what can you do is you can just plot the percentage. That is, now for an example, maybe there are, if you take 20 to 24 age group, let's say there are 100 drivers. Among them, now as for this, there are nearly 9 fatal accidents. So you can just keep the percentage as 9% and plot it. Then we can identify the clear pattern between the age group and the fatal accident. So otherwise we will be misled, right? We will be misled. So statistics can be misused like this, right? So Now, when it comes to statistics, there are some terminologies that you have to know when you are using statistics. So if you can remember now, in last year, uh, there was a bomb blast, and with all of these things, with the Easter attack, all the social networks were banned for some time, right? But even though with this banned period, some of us used VPN in order to access this banned social networks, right? So if you want to find out how many students of University of Kelaniya have used this VPN through the period of ban, what can you do, right? Basically, you can just do a small research, right? So for that, if you want, you can just check from all the students and ask whether you have used VPN or not. But as I explained you earlier, also it's very time consuming. So what you can do is you can just take a group of students and ask that question. So you have a big group, that is all the students in University of Kelaniya, but what we are going to do is we are going to select a small group of students to do our research. So this big group, that is all the students of University of Kelaniya, we call that as the population, where the selected group is known as the sample. And selecting a sample from the population, or selecting a small group from a larger group, we call this process as sampling, right? So in sampling, we have the big group, which is known as the population, and we have the small group, the selected one, which is known as the sample. So the selecting the sample from the population, we call it as sampling. So why we do this sampling? Because it's very easy, right? It's very economical, and it's not time consuming, right? And most of the times there are large people in a large number of elements in the population, so it's very hard to access everyone, and sometimes it is not accessible, or the entire population is not accessible, and sometimes it's destructive nature of many observations. Let's say you are going to do a research about some bulb, right? You are going to check the lifetime of a particular bulb which is manufactured by a company. So if you want to test a bulb, it is having a destructive nature, right? You have to be very careful. So in that case, it's always good to go with the sample, right? And the reliability and the accuracy. So because of all these reasons, we are always trying to go for sampling rather than taking information from whole population, right? So when it comes to this sampling, right, there are some terminologies that you have to know. So one is data. Data means the measurements that you are collecting from these people or from the units. Now if you are doing the research about the students in University of Kelaniya, we are going to ask them their gender and whether they have used VPN or not, and maybe their age. So all these gender, age, the usage of VPN, these things we are going to collect, and for those we call as data, right? Okay, and the population, I explained, the larger group is the population, right? So the population, sometimes they can be finite and sometimes they can be infinite, right? So if it is a finite population, that is, we know how many people are there in our population. For an example, if you are doing research in a garment, right? All the garments produced in a factory may be your population that you can count, you know the number. So it's a finite population. So if you are going to do a research about the words in a book, so the number of words in a book you can count. So it's finite, right? So those populations we call as finite populations. Are there any infinite populations where you cannot count the number of units in the population? What do you think? Yes, they are, right? Sometimes it is not possible. Now, for an example, if you want to count the number of germs in the body of a malaria patient, it's not possible. So, in that case, it's a uncountable population where that is infinite, right? So, in this case, let's say our research is to know the quality of the bulbs produced in a factory. So our population is the entire production of the factory in a certain period. So is this finite or infinite? So the entire production, you can count the number of bulbs, right? So it's finite population. So if you take the next example, if you want to do a study about the level of education in primary schools, so all the students in the primary schools are your population. Then again, you can take account, so that is also finite, right? So this I explained. So in the sample is the smaller group that we take to do our research, so that is a portion or a part of the population of interest, right? So that the sample should be always a good representative of your population, because based on the sample only we are going to do all the things. So it should be a good representative. And the next one is the elements. So what are the elements? Elements are the entities or objects in the sample. That is, if we are doing research about the university students, in the sample we have university students. So our elements are the university students. If you are doing research about the bulbs in a factory, the bulbs are the elements, right? And then when it comes to the variable, variable means what the characteristics or the attributes of a unit. Now for an example, if you take a student, so student has a particular age and name, those characteristics we call as variables. So the variables, there are two types. You have numerical variables where you can measure them quantitatively, and you have non-numerical variables where you cannot measure them numerically, so we call them as qualitative variables, right? So for an example, if you take weight of a student, weight we can measure numerically. So weight is changing from person to person. So it's varying. So we call it as a variable. It's an attribute, right? So since we can measure it numerically, it's a quantitative or numerical variable. But when it comes to gender, you can't measure it numerically. You can just put 10 for female and male, but it has no numerical meaning, right? So because of that, it's just a label. So we call it as a qualitative variable. And then another terminology is there, that is statistic. So when it comes to statistic means when you have a sample from the population, we can calculate the mean value of the sample. We can calculate the variance of the sample. All the calculations that you do with the use of sample, we call them as a statistic, right? So for an example, average weights of adult males of the sample. But if you know all the values in the population, you can calculate them for the population as well. If you know all the values in the population, you can calculate the average value of the population. So the population values, we call them as parameters. When it comes to sample, those are statistics. When it comes to population, those are known as parameters, right? So there are different notations. We will learn them later, but just in this case, for an example, when it comes to population, population mean is denoted by mu, where sample mean is denoted by x bar, right? So there are some cases where we do the research by using the values, using all the values in the population, right? So in those things, the very special ones, we call them as census. So I hope you can remember in Sri Lanka also, after every 10 years they are coming to every house and taking data, right? So they are doing a census, Okay, so if you're collecting information from each and every member of the population and doing your research, we call it as a census. So the sampling I explained earlier also, that is the process of taking a sample from the population. So when it comes to statistics, there are two types or two branches in statistics, where we have the descriptive statistics and the inferential statistics. In descriptive statistics, what we do is we just describe what we have in our hand. We use charts, tables, and say this is how our data set look like. For an example, you can draw a pie chart and say the majority in the sample are females, right? Likewise, you just explain. But when it comes to inferential statistics, we make inferences. We forecast about the population, right, using the sample. That's the difference between descriptive and inferential statistics. Now, for an example, if you look at this, data collected on the deaths per thousand of people by age groups in the Sri Lanka over a given period may be presented in tabular and graphic form in summary fashion. So that is, we are just presenting the number of deaths, right, in a tabular format. So that is descriptive statistics. Right, but where in inferential statistics we use probability, and then we tell about the population, right? So it's a bit different than the descriptive statistics. So in inference statistic also you have two branches. You have parametric statistics and non-parametric statistics. In parametric statistics we have assumptions and we want a probability distribution, right? Where in non-parametric we are not using probability distribution, but and also there are very less number of assumptions, right? So these are the two branches in statistics. So I hope you got some idea about statistics. So I will end this session from this point, and next day we will be talking about another branch in statistics, how we use these statistics in order to analyze our day-to-day work. Thank you so much.